first, I didn't like him at all. I didn't. I thought he was like,
Just one of those breakups that really, it was like a tough one for me.
Because I didn't think much of myself. And so the world didn't think much of me.
Didn't feel okay with it for a minute. You know what I mean? No. Well, at first, no, I just loved it.
100%. Like, I'd never fallen out of love with you. I had just put it over here.
Nothing really special. I was like, it was a bust. She goes, I'll try to pull some more stuff together for the day.
There's always a thing that you don't see coming. And just when you think you've got him, you realize that he's been playing you the whole time.
All right, back by popular demand, we have a PPA evaluation expert, Neil Mason, joining us today. It's an exciting time. We're recording this on election day, so there's a lot of stuff going on. The topic of conversation for tonight is breaking down J-Lo's personality.
It's such a meta story, right?
Taking an inside look at her relationships.
I have decided to tell my story, and I've never shared with anybody in the world.
Looking into the relationship between her and P. Diddy, given that that's a hot topic.
Sean and I were very different that way,
But primarily, we are going to learn about J-Lo and who she is, why she does what she does, based on her birthday. So Neil, welcome back. I'm so excited to hear and learn about J-Lo. What can you share with your infinite wisdom? And let's tell everybody what the day that she was born.
Yeah, J-Lo was born July 24th, 1969. And Carm, always good to be here. So thanks for having me back.
Oh my God. I count the days when we can have conversations like this. And by the way, we are going to be doing more birthday breakdowns as we, continue to grow the show and teach people about, their personality and insights. The thing about birthdays that I didn't know until we had met is that we think our personality is shaped by our environment and things of that nature. And to a degree, that's true. But what I've learned is that there are things about you that you don't even know, sort of out of control, I guess. How would you describe that? How does the day that we're born impact our decision making and our personality? Because you've done this research for many, many years and you've studied thousands of personalities.
Yeah, and I would be remiss if I said that I know exactly why things are the way they are.
Sure.
I know how they work. I know each birthday and how the birthdays relate to the people. I'm not really sure why they are the way they are. The best guess I have is similar to animals. Poodles are the same. They look the same. They have the same hair. They have relatively the same temperament. You look at Chihuahuas are the same. Mm-hmm. And then you even look at things like, your different types of avocados are the same, or your different types of apples are the same. So we're humans. Are we really more different than we are similar? And what I found, and again, I don't know why it is what it is, I just know it is that people with the same birthday not only have the same tendencies, not only do they behave the same way, they have the same kind of philosophies and ideas. Although one might be Republican, one might be Democratic, but the way they view politics is the same. They even have the same love languages and the way they want to have sex, the types of ways. So I don't know why it is. I'm still trying to figure out the why. I just know it is, and I help people and couples and people understand themselves.
All right. Well, you've also, and not to point, tell on your end, you've also dated many women on these types of birthdays. So have you dated a woman, not maybe born in her year, but have you dated women born on this day? And what do you look out for if you have?
Well, yeah, the answer is yes.
Okay.
I have. So I'm very intimately aware of this person's birthday and how this birthday is. So it's actually one of my favorites. And you look at the birthdays in clusters, right? So July 24th, 25th, 23rd, it's all around the same cluster.
Okay.
And ironically, Selena Gomez is right in this day as well. And she's dating Benny Blanco, and his birthday is March 8th. Mine is March 9th.
So you and Selena could make that's why you like this birthday
exactly
date, or this cluster of birthdays. And you reminded me, my youngest daughter, her birthday is July 21st. So I'm going to assume there's some personalities and traits that are similar to Jennifer Lopez. So I can't wait for my baby to make $400 million. Let's go.
Well, it's funny you say that.
Oh my God, Selena's a billionaire too. Look at that.
Well, it's funny you say that because these birthdays are very success driven, finance driven, really good with money.
Okay.
but they're really challenged on their personal side. So they make great decisions business wise, and they surround themselves with good teams. They are they're not self-sufficient. They're dependent. They're very dependent on the other people, whether it's personal or business. So you put the right team around J-Lo or Selena, they're going to crush it. But in their personal life, they're very dependent as well. So that's why if they get attached to the wrong man, a la P. Diddy, a la Ben Affleck, then it's really hard for them to leave. And us from the outside say, why don't you leave? And in their mind, they're looking at it like they're just drawn. And it's hard. Once they commit, they're all in.
Right. So you talked about the success. What is it about? And it's interesting because you're looking literally at two women that are multimillionaires. They're also talented. Is it strange that Selena's what is their talent typically drawn to music, or could they be great artists and painters or dancers? Like, these are multifaceted women. They both dance, they both act, they both sing, they both, like, how strange is that? Or is it?
Well, I've correlated birthdays with different senses, and these people are very romantic and very sensual. And a lot of times romance connects to dance, connects to music, connects to singing. So there's that nature where they're just very connected to their senses. They love to hold hands. They love to be kissed softly. They love the romance. They're very charismatic, magnetic energy. So that's part of just their makeup, right?
Okay.
And Giselle Bundchen's right around there as well. She's, I think, July 19th or 20th, and she's having a baby now. So these are just very capable, highly romantic, highly magnetic people. Very passionate, very believe deeply. And not all people are like that, right? People with my birthday are a little bit more detached, a little bit more cold, a little bit more reserved. That's why it's a really good match.
Okay. Well, looking at Jennifer Lopez's relationship history, she was previously married to Ojana Noah, 97 to 98, Chris Judd, 2001, 2003, Mark Anthony, who she had babies with, Alex Rodriguez, but they were engaged, Ben Affleck twice, the first time, and then the second time, they almost got married. She is like a fan of love. Does this birthday, when you say they have trouble in relationships, can you talk a little bit about why it is that they struggle in relationships? And are they typically monogamous? Because someone who is dating, it seems like she's dating for marriage. Like, she is wanting to get married and wants to get married. And what, like, is that the case?
And I don't like throwing words around like this, but it is what it is with the birthdays. They're love addicts. So they're addicted to love. Now, some people with this birthday, mostly men, are addicted to drugs or addicted to sex.
Okay.
These birthdays are addicted to love. So I call it the chimpanzee effect. They won't let go of one man until they're ready to go to the next man. So you'll rarely see, if you look at J-Lo's marriage history or dating history, very rarely is she fundamentally just by herself. And even with Giselle broke up with Tom, and they divorced. Immediately she's got the trainer. So these people love the idea of love, and they're addicted to the idea of love. They need to actually be in love. So when you're consistently having to be in love, you're now making decisions based on your heart, based on your soul, not based on your brain. You're going to get into toxic relationships. And I warn clients on this birthday all the time. Be careful when you have sex with a man on this, like if you have this birthday. So if you're July 23rd, 24th, right in that range, be very careful, because once you have sex, you get connected. And then be careful who you commit to, because it's hard to get out of these relationships, because they would rather be in, and this sounds bad to say, but they're more comfortable being in a bad relationship than leaving to be in no relationship, because they take it so serious and they internalize it. These are great people, good-hearted people, and they blame themselves. They look inward. They're really hard on themselves.
Again, you talked how close Selena's birthday is to J-Lo, and we all watched her toxic relationship with Justin Bieber for 8 years, where she wrote the song about it and learned from that experience. But true to your point, women around that birthday that's overstay or stay longer than they should because they're in love. And mind you, she was young. But that's very interesting. Okay, you lead with positive. Talk more about the positive traits of women Jennifer Lopez in particular, about her birthday.
So very morally courageous. So really fights for causes. And if you heard J-Lo introducing Kamala Harris, regarding the whole Puerto Rico thing, regardless if you're a Democrat or Republican, you could see that she was passionate about her people. So they fight for the underdog. They're always looking for what's right. For them, doing the right thing is always the right thing. Very magnetic, very charismatic. They take chances in business and life. Really, really good workers and very spiritual. They're connected to the earth. They're connected to nature. These are people that lead with their heart, and they have a really, really big heart.
Well, I don't know if I watched the special on Jennifer Lopez I think it was Netflix. She's done a number of documentaries, her preparation for the Super Bowl. And during that Super Bowl preparation, it was so important for her to have Latina representation. And on the ground, there were these lit up cages filled with children that, to your point, really supported, the message and the cause that she wanted to create for inclusivity and for Latina, women, Latinas in general. So that's interesting, that's the case. What else can you share with us about her birthday? Maybe that would be concerning, or that if you had Jennifer Lopez to coach, what things would you share with her that maybe she doesn't know?
Well, the first things I would share, and I would cross off the list, is addiction. And addiction comes in many forms. Now, addiction is drugs, alcohol, okay? It's substances, mind-altering substances, pills.
She's a workaholic. Like she's literally a workaholic. That's an addiction, right?
Well, yeah, and so now you get it, she's a workaholic, but also addiction also comes in love addiction, sex addiction. So sex addiction is huge because a lot of the times these people are so magnetic, they're so charismatic, and they're beautiful. People at this birthday are gorgeous. It's just, my research has told me that people on the same birthday look very similar, very gorgeous. But there's also food addiction. So with food addiction you might look at J-Lo and go, she doesn't have a food addiction. She's got a perfect body. She does, but she works day because in her mind, there's that association with food. She's very careful. So she might be compulsively working out. So I'd move from addiction, and then also shopping, how they look. How they look is really important.
So aesthetics, she is like, and not in a bad way, a diva, but I don't think aside from her documentary, you don't catch a lot of bad photos of J-Lo. She is just on point from head to toe to scent. Everything about her looks like, $100 million. She looks amazing.
Yeah. Well, but that's that birthday. They're very conscious of how they look. Image is really important to them. And again, going back to addiction, one of the things too, and you hate to throw this around, is she actually may suffer from being manic depressive or bipolar. Okay. So there's literally two people inside of her, but they're both coming from a good place. They just battle themselves, and they battle. Now, we talked about P. Diddy before being an escapist, where he has that dark side to him. Justin Bieber also is an escapist and has a dark side to him. She has two sides to her, but they're both coming from a place of either great, high, or depressed and anxiety. And yeah.
So can we talk about the chemistry or the compatibility between P. Diddy and J-Lo? Do you recall that moment? I mean, you and I don't want to date ourselves, but I was born in the era, like when I was dancing to Jennifer Lopez's stuff, I was younger. Okay. We're close. We're very, very close in age. So were they attracted to each other? Is his birthday and her birthday a good match? Can you talk about that?
It's before we talk about if it's a good match, I always look to, is it a toxic match?
Okay.
That's where I start. And what I mean by that is, we talked about J-Lo has the addiction issues. She has possibly drugs, alcohol, sex, love. Then we're also looking at power, because she's a workaholic. She wants to achieve financial gain. And then you look at someone like Diddy, he's like the devil on her shoulder. And once they connected, even though she might intellectually or logically know it wasn't a good match, the chemicals burned hot there and it made sense. So he might have brought out the worst in her and she couldn't leave.
So this is when we talk about passion and lust, or, a lot of matchmakers and date coaches would say when things are hot and they're red hot, those are the kind of relationships you want to run from, right? Because so there would have been heavy passion or an organic or natural passion in the bedroom between these two. Let's try to keep it as PG as possible, but there would have been compatibility there.
Yeah, you would. Well, also, listen, sex is different. Passion, it's different, because do I think that there was a lot of love making and a lot of, I don't know, but I suspect there was a lot of excitement, adventure, but the thing with JLo is she's fundamentally romantic, but she's also exciting. So she's being pulled, right?
Yeah, I recall an interview. I recall an interview where she was saying that initially she wasn't sure that P. Diddy was a great match for her because she was so family oriented, and he seemed to lean towards that, bachelor lifestyle, or the lifestyle that is still enjoying and partying and throwing those massive white parties, not necessarily the family man raising kids, right?
Exactly. Well, and that's where I think JLo's conflicted.
Right.
Because when you see the pictures with her and Ben, you just look in her eyes and you can tell she's not happy, but she doesn't want to leave, but she just wants to stay, but this personality is, one of their negative traits is they're always stressed. So it doesn't matter how good things are for JLo, she'll find something to stress out about, or she'll constantly put herself in a situation where she's gonna be stressing, right? So, and that's just on one hand, super powerful, positive, role model, wealthy. On the other hand, tortured.
When you are talking to women, again, we're talking about JLo here. How can someone like JLo avoid or repair or work on these, addictions or these things that, according to, science and research and what you've discovered, is inherently a behavior that she has? So what can someone do then?
Well, the first thing is there's got to be an impetus to change or to want to work on this stuff.
Right. Okay.
And with this birthday, from a really young age, they've experienced trauma, either some sort of trauma, bullying, harassment, sexual harassment, abuse. So normally these women have been in therapy, they've been, if you will, they understand that they need to work on themselves because they're really hard on themselves. So assuming that she wants my help, okay, I'd say, listen, let's kind of prioritize, health, wealth, love, happiness, right? Because my saying is, you can have it all, but you can't have it all at once. So you want to have a good marriage, great. You want to make money, great. You want to work out, great. But then is your mental health going to be good? Right. So you got health, wealth, love, happiness. You can't have them all at once firing. We're not humans. So it's a matter of, so for her, we know the career is always firing. That's good, but it also means the chance of mental health or love suffering is always great because she's never really relegated from being good at work.
Well, do you think that going back to P. Diddy and JLo from the work perspective, like she's a perfectionist to the max, right? I don't know what the personality of Diddy, whether perfectionism is included, but they're both really workaholics to a degree. Is that something that would work for this couple? Is that a point of compatibility, or would that also be a point of rivalry, given that they are both similarly driven and they both are financially motivated?
Well, the difference between JLo and Jennifer, who's someone who lives in New York, or from the block, just Jenny versus JLo. JLo, the brand, has handlers, business managers, agents, partners. So first of all, her relationship with P. Diddy was good for business, right? And so that's number one. Is, so remember, health, wealth, love, happiness. Well, the wealth side is really good for business for her to be with P. Diddy. Okay. Then the excitement side of it, the adventure. Remember, she's the type of person that wants to look up to her man. And if you look at the way that JLo looked at Ben, it was like she looked up to him. Right. Right. So when these women have the type of man like P. Diddy, who's very powerful, very aggressive, very masculine, very dominant, very take charge, they want to be in their feminine. They want to be the follower. There's nothing more than JLo saying, yeah, I'm worth 100 million, but my man's worth 400 million and he can teach me. So that worked. The problem is when you get to love and mental health, it was never good for her mental health. Okay. Same with Ben, because Ben, it was never good for her mental health. And the love was toxic. It wasn't sustainable. Whereas, you look at Selena Gomez now she's with Benny Blanco and he's not as exciting, maybe not even as good looking, but she just seems like she's at peace. And there's something to be said about peace.
Yes. Okay. So sometimes having two people too closely associated or too similar, particularly in those ways, could be problematic. I can see that even as a relationship expert. Okay, great. I mean, is there anything else that you would like to cover about J-Lo that we've missed, or that we've talked about her relationships, the money side, some of the addictions, health concerns? What is shared about people born on her birthday that is a health concern?
Well, number one is I just read the weather, right? And I don't make the.
Yeah.
I've studied the birthdays, but it's just the research I found, and so I hope your audience doesn't hold it against me. But the number one health concern for her is sexual obsessiveness.
Okay.
Meaning she's overly sexualized, even from a young age, and she's at risk of men that are going to be sexually abusive.
So that's something to look out for. Okay.
That's number one, and you can see it, right? So maybe that was the attraction. Now that Diddy's going through these freak offs and this, it's coming to the light.
Yeah.
Well, maybe she might have been she might have been the victim to that.
Sure.
In terms of being in that environment. So that would be the number one health thing I think that they need to really look out for. The number two is stress.
Yep.
These people are highly stressed and they don't make decisions quickly. You know, it takes them a long time to get out of a relationship. They get in quickly, they get out slowly, right? So stress, and along with stress is things like sleeping, is things like insomnia.
In her documentary, she did talk about her never feeling good enough. And there was a moment where she credited Ben and she was crying and she's like, he's the only one that really made me feel like I was worth something. So she had admitted, we hear this all the time, like, you know, Robin Williams committed suicide. We have all these, you know, accidental deaths from these celebrities, not on her birthday, that accidentally OD and they suffer from depression. Post Malone, you know, he talked about, I love Post Malone, by the way. We got to do his birthday. I love that guy. Talking about depression. And you think that a lot of people, they're human beings. It was Selena, bipolar, depression, all those things. So it's not always right.
You just mentioned Robin Williams.
Yes. When's his birthday?
July 21st.
Oh my gosh. Wow. And men and women on the same birthday are similar, but they do have some distinctness between the male and female born on those days, correct?
Well, they do, and for the most part, men have more testosterone and men are a little bit more aggressive.
Sure.
But the thing you brought up the suicide thing a number of times.
Wow.
I didn't bring it up. Bipolar, suicidal thoughts, depression is rampant on this birthday. It's just there.
Okay.
And you know, it's sad, but it's really sad, but it's there. So between that and potentially being victims of sexual assault or sexual abuse, these people I care for the most. They need to be very well taken care of and protected. So if you have someone in your life that's right around these birthdays, keep an eye on them, just communicate with them and be their support because they need a lot of support.
All right, everyone. Today we are going to be discussing why there seems to be a lot of hate for J-Lo.
Because I didn't think much of myself. And so the world didn't think much of me.
Everywhere you see in tabloids, not only are they discussing, you know, the imminent divorce with Ben, they're talking a lot about J-Lo and not being super authentic. It starts from the one video in her movie where she talks about her being from the Bronx, okay?
If that sounds crazy, it's because we are.
This TikToker came out hard in the comment section and said she was called a delusional chaos demon, and the clip was seen as really a failed attempt by the megastar to prove her humility and try to force this connection with her hometown. Number one, there's not a lot of people that can relate to J-Lo because she is considered one of the biggest divas. Now, diva can be used in a positive way or a negative way. In many cases, the diva reference to J-Lo is not really presented in the most positive light.
You know, it was like a tough one for me.
In fact, this one commenter said, I understand that you're trying to milk this whole, I'm humble, I'm from the hood. This story doesn't really work for you anymore, says this TikToker, who uses Sillimania in a video. This whole story of her trying to seem relatable and, more normal isn't really going to work for you. Just stop. All right. Because the other person who claimed to have gone to school with Jennifer Lopez says that she was never really from the Bronx. She was in an upper, economic area of the Bronx. She went to a private school. So at no point was J-Lo ever from the hood. At no point was she Jenny from the block. She's Jenny from the preps, I guess, is what they're trying to say. I'm still Jenny from the block. The roots really for Jennifer Lopez is not about growing up in this, impoverished state of being. The person said, if you know, you know. And some say this is doing some heavy lifting, and many are questioning if her order is a true Bronxite bodega order. Okay, I'm not really sure what that means, but being authentic seems to be a tricky lane, and a lot of people are hating on J-Lo or disliking J-Lo because they believe that she lacks authenticity in terms of her, where she grew up and where she came from. Okay. So the need to examine and re-examine ourselves and look in the mirror, say, what are we trying to relate to? What is Jennifer trying to say? That she, came from nothing and all of a sudden now she's this superstar, where, that narrative doesn't play well to people who knew her and to those who really grew up in, poverty or who grew up underprivileged, not somebody who attended a private school and then, got professional dance lessons and all of that. Now, celebrities are often praised for seeming authentic and giving their audiences a sense of intimacy and familiarity with them. But this authenticity is often linked to some backstory or some humble beginning or some real triumph over hardship. And so when it comes to Jennifer, the backlash, again, about her upbringing is really not resonating with people who knew her and those in present day, because there's no evidence that she actually struggled. And so this documentary actually may have hurt Jennifer Lopez's appeal to being authentic. In fact, a lot of people who have watched her documentary, both on her love story and her upbringing, are saying that she is trying to create her own narrative and painting this false picture of who she is. Okay. Part of her building this brand, superstardom, and trying to get people to, per se, like her, is to have them buy into this story that her life was built on struggle. She didn't get everything her way. And I'm sure that Jennifer didn't get everything her way, but painting the picture of, or trying to paint this picture of her being somebody that truly struggled is, people are not buying that. Okay. There are other reasons why Jennifer is considered not likable. A lot of that has to do as well with the story and narrative that she's painted about her dating life. Okay. Her dating life. Yes, she has struggled in dating. Absolutely. And she has dated some very famous people. So it's difficult for, I guess, her fans or the haters to feel sorry, to empathize with Jennifer Lopez. It's kind of like, oh, poor thing, you dated Diddy one time and you had to cover for him, or, oh my goodness, your heart was broken because, he couldn't handle your fame. Or it seems as if any of her personal struggles and her romantic struggles, people aren't really empathizing with that. It's kind of like, well, you made the mistake. That's your problem, not our problem. It's difficult for people to kind of side with Jennifer when, she's trying to paint this narrative of her heart having been broken, but people aren't really seeing that. It's hard to feel sorry for someone who seems to have it all. And is that the reason why people really don't like her? She's massively successful. Her net worth is worth over $400 million. She's arguably, a superstar. She was in the Super Bowl with Shakira. She looked fabulous. I watched Hustlers. I watched a lot of her movies. In fact, I like a lot of her movies. I like the character she plays. I personally think she's a talented actress, at least for the movies that I've seen. Loved a lot of her rom-coms. And there's also critique about those movies as well, right? And who she is. And she's constantly playing these characters that are in love, and, you know, there's this feel-good stuff, but in her personal home life, it's not great, right? She's had a lot of backlash with the fact that she is so famous, and she also did make our rudest celebrities list. And supposedly she has this crazy requirements and demands when she's around. She always travels with this massive entourage. So as far as being diva, she is known for being diva. One of the challenges or struggles that Jennifer has had with other artists, she's had some contentious relationships with Mariah Carey, Nicki Minaj, Rihanna, and other people in Hollywood. The first part of revealing Mariah Carey and her sort of rift or beef, lack of closeness, is Mariah Carey mentioned something like, "I don't know her" comment. That sparked a long-standing feud between her and Lopez. Lopez and Carey have exchanged subtle public digs in the past. Now, Nicki Minaj and Lopez had an awkward moment on American Idol, followed by public tension. And Rihanna and Lopez had a fallout over Drake, leading to Rihanna unfollowing Lopez on Instagram. Now, Ojani Noah, Lopez's ex-husband, attempted to release damaging material post-divorce, violating confidentiality agreements. So there were some things that he wanted to say, but he couldn't say that. And Jenna Dewan allegedly found Lopez's behavior overbearing on the world of dance. Rosie Perez shared negative experiences with Lopez dating back to their time on In Living Color. And Matt Damon reportedly expressed concerns over Ben Affleck's marriage to Lopez in Marriage 1. So there's some considerations here. We want to reflect on the impacts of public feuds on personal and professional relationships in the celebrity world. We really don't know what goes on behind the scenes. It does feel like it's extremely competitive, right? You want to also understand that the media is going to portray potential exaggerations and distortions of what actually happens in celebrity conflicts. We really don't know. I'm reporting on what's been reported and what the tabloids have said. And we have to understand the balance between your personal life struggles and maintaining like this highly successful public career. So the implication of past relationships on one's public image and, you know, the conflict and the scrutiny doesn't paint a great picture for Jennifer, okay? If there is a feud and a longstanding feud with another popular artist like Mariah Carey, who's basically saying like she's irrelevant or like we don't F with each other, like, yeah, I don't know her, I don't really know her. Whereas Jennifer has claimed that, yeah, they do know each other. I mean, how do you not know? How does Mariah Carey not know Jennifer Lopez? I mean, Jennifer Lopez knows Mariah Carey. Maybe they were saying that they don't have a friendship, right? Maybe that was the basis of the whole thing. That being said, you know, Jennifer Lopez's character and the fact that she is producing her own life story and she's creating this narrative where she wants to showcase her authenticity or wants to be relatable to public is really not going well. Instead of being relatable to public, she's being unrelatable to public. And more people are saying, you know, I don't get this person. Like, does she think she's like us? Because I can't relate to that. A lot of people can't relate to the fame. They can't relate to her, you know, feeling like she has insecurities and talking about her relationships. And everybody knows that Ben didn't want to be, you know, in the public or talk about a relationship. And yet she's doing a whole story about her life and her romance. So those are some of the reasons why people are not liking Jennifer Lopez, the lack of relatability, the seemingly, you know, set up narrative that she's trying to paint of herself and people aren't buying it. The fact that she is a mega superstar and other people in the industry have had issues with her also does not help with her reputation.
Explicit photos of JLo and Diddy have just leaked onto the internet. There are many screenshots.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Daily Break TV, where we are bringing you the latest in celebrity gossip and relationships. I'm your host, Carmelia Ray, and your go-to expert on all things celebrity dating and relationships. So today we have quite a juicy story. It's about Jennifer Lopez and her complicated history with none other than P. Diddy Combs.
Sean and I were very different that way,
especially following his recent arrest. Well, it's not so recent now. He's been there for quite some time. But first, let's take a moment to reflect on the ongoing saga of J-Lo's love life. Now, after her divorce from Ben Affleck, it seems everyone is buzzing about her past. And of course, with all of these new photos and allegations surrounding Diddy and putting J-Lo in the period of time where many of these allegations are, it's having a lot of people, curious about the involvement and the intricacies of J-Lo and P. Diddy.
So much of my past.
So it was a tumultuous relationship and romance. And although Ben and J-Lo have also a rocky relationship, so it seems her and Diddy also were in a similar situation. So there's a pattern here. Grab your popcorn because we are going to spill some tea. Now let's rewind to the late 90s. J-Lo and Diddy were not just dating, but they were both on the rise to superstardom. So these two were the hot couple of the moment.
Their relationship, once exciting and full of drama, is getting a fresh look.
But their relationship was anything but smooth. Now remember that infamous nightclub shooting in 1999? Well, they were caught right in the middle of it. And it shook things up for both of their careers.
Diddy attended a party at the club with his then-girlfriend Jennifer Lopez and had also been arrested and accused of being involved in the shooting.
The rumor mill had it, and again, this is rumor mill, that J-Lo actually was the one that brought the, handguns or guns in question, P. Diddy's gun, into the club. And I saw the recount and video of the woman that alleged that she saw P. Diddy point blank shoot her, to which the bullet shot her straight in the face. Now, she is saying that she saw him actually do it. Now, maybe she wasn't intended to be the, target, but when you are pulling the trigger at a club and you open fire, it is going to hit someone, not just something. Even if it ricochets off something, someone's going to get hurt, all right? Diddy's recent legal troubles have reignited interest in this chaotic time. And during an altercation between Diddy's protege and J-Lo's bodyguard, supposedly this is when the shots were fired and it left 3 people injured. That night changed everything for both of them. In fact, a lot of people were wondering what J-Lo's involvement was, if she had anything to do with concealing, the weapon or, being part of the entire thing. She did go to the cops to get interrogated, but nothing ever happened to her. So no charges were actually filed. Now, in a candid interview, J-Lo shared how Diddy's infidelity is what actually led to an emotional turmoil for her. And she described the relationship as totally crying, crazy, and going nuts. Ladies, can we talk about this for a moment? Like, infidelity can be very devastating, especially if you find yourself in a similar situation. J-Lo is no stranger to scrutiny. She is no stranger to people being completely, curious about her love life. And certainly all of the failed relationships and the scrutiny under her love life leads to a lot of emotional, and mental pressure for her, and also a lot of, relationship trauma because of all of the drama surrounding her and P. Diddy. The other aspect of it is that sometimes when women are dating, rappers that have been known to have, the history and the, reputation that Diddy had at the time, both, in public and privately, now people hearing and all of the conversations about the kind of person he really was behind closed doors, it's surprising that their relationship lasted as long as it did. So what can we learn from J-Lo's experience? Well, here's a quick few do's and don'ts when it comes to relationships. Now, you certainly have to communicate with your partner openly. If it feels off, you want to address that, right? You don't want to ignore these red flags, especially if they have been known to cheat before, you want to ask yourself if you're really, really ready to risk that again. Now, at the time in the 90s, on their come up, and P. Diddy always being a center of influence, and people now recounting that part of the reason that they participated and that they were involved in the parties and all of the other, after hours activities, is you hear many celebrities saying you just couldn't say no to him. He had this, charismatic power. He had this magnetic persona around him, but also someone with a lot of power and influence. And, being a proclaimed, well, maybe he's not a proclaimed narcissist, but that seems to be the word that people are describing. He can shower you with gifts. It almost feels surreal. You want to be part of this lifestyle. A lot of these up and coming celebrities and these ladies that were dating Diddy were exposed to a world that for many people is unimaginable. Yachts, money, cars, beautiful women, free-flowing alcohol, top-of-the-line, transportation and clothing and designer bags and all of that. For many people, they're willing to trade a lot of things to have that kind of lifestyle. So let's get back to Diddy. The events that unfolded that night were not just a blip in their relationship. It actually defined it. So J.Lo later reflected on the whole nightmare, expressing how scared she felt during that particular incident. It's all great until it's not great, right? It's all wonderful until you're caught in the middle of a gunfire at a gun shooting at a club. This brings us to another important point. Your safety should always come first. If you're ever in a situation where you feel uncomfortable or unsafe, it's crucial to try to get out of there. Clearly easier said than done, which is why Cassie filed her lawsuit years after they were together and then recounted history of a lot of inappropriate situations, her being forced or coerced to do things that she didn't want to do out of fear for, her safety, out of fear for her reputation. And now we're hearing the rumors that out of fear for, video evidence being leaked to family and friends saying, hey, who's going to believe you or me? So having, blackmailed video evidence, allegedly, right, of things that you're doing could cause anybody to not want to do anything that would really release or unleash the beast that we saw on that tape. Now, with all the drama resurfacing, it's easy to get caught up in the chaos of celebrity relationships. But remember, every love story does have its ups and downs, even if they are played out in the public eye. Remember, people are seeing, my gosh, if you could see what it's like, or the facade that's happening in public, and that incident that we saw at the hotel with Cassie and Diddy, just imagine what actually happened behind closed doors. He didn't even know that he was being recorded, so that is probably an indication of what he actually is like, or was like many times when he was angry and under the influence. All right, Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck's relationship is under a lot of scrutiny.
Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck are taking some space amid continued rumors of marriage tension.
And people are still trying to figure out and assess what happened in that relationship. So let's go back to 2001, all the way in the beginning, from the first time when they connected. Apparently, they had a prenup at that time, or they were supposed to have a prenup, but obviously they never ended up getting married.
It's such a meta story, right?
So over the years, a lot has been said about the rules that existed between them, or the rules that Jennifer, at least from Jennifer's side, the, boundaries that she set. Now, this article was recently published on She Knows, and these are alleged rules. And some of these rules, I can see why they are in place. So let's just break it down, okay? Because after 2 years of marriage, it's not that long. And by the way, they weren't together for the entire 2 years. She did file divorce on the Tuesday.
Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck's second shot at love coming to an end.
On the specific day that they had gotten married, the day of their wedding, but she filed in her divorce or in the divorce process, that they were actually separated since April 26. All right, so the first rule that is implemented here is that there is no smoking.
Smoke-free zone. Here's hoping Ben sticks to this rule for both his health and Jen's.
Now, we've seen Ben Affleck smoking in the past. We have not seen him smoking as of late. So J-Lo loves Ben, but she's tired of his nasty cigarettes. This is what a source told to OK Magazine in 2022. She put up with his smoking at first, but it's his only vice left, and she didn't want to be a nag, but she can't stand it. Now, she hates cigarette smoke, and what's worse, smelling it on his clothes. And while Ben goes outside to smoke now, she'd rather him not smoke at all. This is what the insider had said.
J-Lo's love may not cost a thing, but being married to her has a lot of rules.
You know, when it comes to smoking, and by the way, we've talked about, what makes for long-term relationships, being that I am a relationship expert. I've studied relationships. I've worked with some of the top relationship experts. And according to the love doctor, Dr. Terry Orbuck, she does state that one of the major, requirements of compatibility is the same views on your lifestyle and health and fitness. So typically, especially when I'm matching people who are non-smokers typically do not want to date a smoker. Okay. It's like a deal breaker. In this case, I guess she chose to, set the boundary that he has to go smoke outside or whatever, but that was one of her rules. The next rule is that there are no female flight attendants. Now, we know that Ben and J-Lo fly private. So according to Fox News, Lopez does not allow female flight attendants on her private planes to this day because, of course, of what happened in the past. After her then husband, Mark Anthony, had an alleged fling with a flight attendant. All right, well, I think this is a reasonable rule considering that, you do not want to, she's kind of just protecting her marriage and doing some pre-damage control. It's kind of like not having a young, hot nanny watching your kids, because how many celebrity marriages and breakups happen because, one of the partners, whether it's the hot young pool boy or the hot young nanny, gets in the way and is just too much temptation. Her rule is no female flight attendants. I don't think that that's a bad rule given the situation that they're in. However, I think if they're flying together, I can't see how, a female flight attendant would be an issue unless, of course, she just doesn't want that anxiety or having to feel like, oh my God, like when I go to the bathroom, are they going to slip phone numbers, right? Those are some of the things that I'm thinking she's thinking about. All right. Now, another rule she has: only 3 drinks when you go out. So it's been alleged that for years, Jennifer Lopez has a strict only 3 drinks when we're out with all of her past partners. And this was taken per cheat sheet, the outlet cheat sheet. Now, with Ben being that he's sober, there should be a 0 drink policy. Okay. Somebody who has had addiction issues, particularly when it comes to alcohol, they shouldn't have any drinks. But Jennifer Lopez's rules for any of her dating partners is 3 drinks max. I think this is great. Again, these are things that you should discuss before you start dating someone. She definitely has a list of a lot of things that she does not, want her partners to cross. And I think it's better to understand the reasoning behind the rule than for a person to feel like the relationship is so restrictive and they can't do something. I mean, you have to use your common sense. Men typically can drink a little more because of the, body max index. Like if I have 3 drinks, depending on the, amount of alcohol in the drink, depending on the frequency between when I drank those drinks, and also how much water and how much food am I having in between those drinks. 3 drinks is enough for somebody my size, especially drinking that within 3-hour period. I'm probably feeling nice, maybe a little tipsy even. Again, depending on the type of alcohol. Are they shots? Is it wine? Because if it's wine, 3 glasses of wine is like half a bottle of wine. I'm looped by that point, okay? For guys, maybe a little bit different. I think that it's better to have a conversation about not being drunk, handling your liquor. But setting a 3-drink rule is what is stated that she wants her partners to adhere to. Now, this rule seems super obvious. It almost seems like it shouldn't be a rule, but it's a rule that every relationship, aside if you're open, or that you have a kind of relationship where, hey, do what you want. No cheating. Likely any couple do not want to deal with infidelity. And of course, it has been rumored in the past that JLo has had her share of men that have not been very faithful and have not been very nice. So she has a no cheating rule. Apparently, a source told one of the publications, this was Daily Mail, in their 2003 prenup, there was supposed to be a clause was in there stating some kind of consequence if Ben cheated. The prenuptial agreement is to protect both their assets and says that if they do split, they keep their own money, except if Ben cheats. What she does want is for Ben to give her some guarantee that he will never cheat again, okay? There are many clauses in prenups that have a big penalty if the man or the woman cheats. Typically, I've seen it where the clause is more on the men. Hey, if our marriage ends because of it's discovered that you cheat, I get the house in the Hamptons, I get $500,000 or whatever the case is. But that means they're going to think twice, hopefully, if they find themselves in a situation to not cheat. Okay, it's like a cheating deterrent or cheating insurance. This rule I can totally agree with. He must get along with this ex. Not about any other exes, but this ex. Lopez and Affleck have both had their fair share of star-studded lovers, but it's been alleged by Hollywood Life that Affleck absolutely had to get along with Mark Anthony, okay? Lopez's ex-husband, Mark Anthony, why? Well, it's logical. He's the father of Lopez's twins, and apparently they still are extremely close even after their divorce in 2014. So this seems like a reasonable rule. I can't argue with that. In fact, I think it shouldn't even be a rule. I think it should just be a thing. You know, a lot of times when people come to me, they say, I only want to date someone single. I don't want to date somebody who's divorced or somebody who has kids. It's because often they assume that there's this, trouble with the ex, that there's going to be drama, that there's going to be too much mess. It's easier to date somebody who doesn't, have kids. But in this case, when you're still you're friendly with your ex, and you have a good co-parenting relationship, similar to how Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner seem to have a great co-parenting relationship, a great post-divorce relationship. It doesn't mention anything about Ben saying that Jennifer has to like his ex, Jennifer Garner, but I'm sure if she's implementing you gotta like my ex, I'm going to assume that she's going to take on the fact that she's got to like his ex, because at the end of the day, you want to be child focused, and this is about their kids and not about their egos. I find that when people don't like the ex, it's usually some kind of threat. It's an ego. There's comparison. But if you are dating somebody and you're dating somebody with children, it's always in your best interest and favorable for the kids and for your current partner to try to maintain a cordial, professional, and amicable relationship with their ex-partner. Okay? This rule's a little different. Apparently, she has a rule that he needs to be in charge of all relocation. Let's dive into what it says. It's been alleged that by the Marca, that in order to keep Lopez happy and blissful, Affleck is in charge of all their relocation matters when it comes to moving or buying houses. Maybe that is why Ben Affleck bought his own $20 million property near his ex when he moved out of the $60 million mansion, and he did that while she was away. So, true to that word, if that was a rule, he literally did manage his exit, manage his purchase of property, and the exit of all of his things. So house hunting is already very stressful, but to not split the duties half and half sounds even more stressful, but that's a stress that Jennifer Lopez doesn't want to take on. I would assume that she'd want to have some part in the moving process, considering I've seen her work ethic. I've seen her documentary, Halftime. I've seen how she navigates and, coordinates her projects. I would think that a house move is something she would want to definitely be on top of. Anyway, she's leaving that to Ben. The next rule is they both agreed to have no more kids. Now, that seems logical considering Jennifer Lopez did the halftime Super Bowl show 2 years ago at the age of 52. Now, it doesn't mean that, at this age that a couple cannot agree to adopt. Like, look at Jolie and Pitt. They have biological children, but their adopted children outnumber their actual biological children. So reportedly, Lopez and Affleck both were on the same page. The rule was no more kids. I assume they took the necessary precautions for that. And perhaps because she's already past 50, that, it's assumed and logical that they're not going to have any more kids. And this one is, I've heard about this before. I don't know if there's any truth to this statement, but I have heard about it. Supposedly, Jennifer has a no big tip rule. Lopez has long been accused of being rude to servers. I find that odd given where she came from and given the fact that, she seems to, at least from her movies and whatnot, seem to portray this like, I want to help everybody. I want to, empower women and whatnot. But supposedly she's not the nicest when it comes to servers. According to a now deleted TikTok video via Your Tango, a former employee of a casino told the story about how Lopez was stingy with her money, saying and telling Ben not to tip. He doesn't tip anymore, baby. You don't need to tell him nothing. He's not doing it. This was the quote that was stated at a TikTok video. I would love to see that. If anybody has a copy of that, post it in the link or in the comments below. And others allege that if he did tip, that she would actually take the big tip away from the service industry workers. So whoever it was, an overage of tipping, she would take that away. All right, no big tips, supposedly, for Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck. You're not allowed to tip more than probably 20%. Who knows? That being said, these are all the rules that Jennifer had during their relationship. I think it's important to have boundaries, and it's important before you get into a serious relationship to both speak about what's important to you. Nowadays, they call it kind of like these relationship contracts. It's like a prenup for a relationship. A prenup is to protect your marriage. A relationship agreement, a relationship contract is for your relationship. All right. Not a bad idea. Maybe you can implement some of these rules. Which rules do you like? Which rules would you get rid of? People are asking, is love on the rocks? Now, when they first came out, it seemed as if the Bennifer relationship rekindled. Okay. However, there has been a lot of evidence that these two are not really in agreement with one major thing, and that is their choice for privacy. Okay. Number one, it's difficult to be a celebrity in the spotlight. We already know that. But when where you see a great divide between these two is the fact that Jennifer is far more open with her sharing intimate details of their relationship, her being in the spotlight, her creating her narrative from the different marriages in her video to, the greatest story never told. And then her special that actually revealed and where she read love letters from Ben. So this is what seems to be fueling the most recent reasons for why Ben is so upset with Jennifer. I mean, Ben's love letters apparently were read without his prior knowledge. This amplifies whatever divide they already had. And it's also raising sort of ethical questions about consent and boundaries between two couples. I find it really, questionable and difficult to believe that Ben would not know that Jennifer read love letters. I mean, at the end of the day, did she actually think, this is television? This is out in the open. So if it is true, maybe there was a debate about it. Maybe he did agree to it or didn't agree to it. The fact is, it's kind of strange. You are married to a woman that is constantly in the spotlight. So it's not as if, this is going to change. I don't know if they had this conversation about what their individual boundaries are, but it just always seems that when you catch them out in public, you see Ben pretty grumpy. Paparazzi always catches him with a frown. He's not happy, and he's slamming the car door. The famous viral video where he's slamming the car door on Jennifer Lopez. I don't know what body language experts think. I don't know how people are interpreting that. I mean, many people interpret that particular video to mean a lot of different things. Was he pissed off at Jennifer? Was he pissed off at the paparazzi? He actually said, okay, you got what you needed. So I believe that was more about him just being annoyed with the paparazzi. It had nothing to to do with Jennifer. And probably Jennifer getting in the car is thinking, oh my God, here it is. Like, he hates this stuff, which is why she was pretty silent, was quiet and went in the car. And of course, she has her image to upkeep. So she's not going to like be upset or angry with paparazzi because, you know, this is part of her life. She's used to this. Now, what also are the impacts of their professional commitments? All right. You're seeing them a lot out separately where fueling the fire and putting evidence that, hey, there could be trouble in Jennifer's paradise because Jennifer is seen alone on many red carpets. Ben is not with her, supporting her at the opening of Atlas, which is a pretty big deal. She's the executive producer here and a star in that show. Now, it could be that Jennifer's intense schedule and Ben's own commitments are the reason why they are not showing up to similar places. However, you would think that you would try to, as a celebrity, make those kinds of adjustments so that you could support your partner. Now, there seems to be as well a lot of public disagreements and, this constant quest for normalcy. I think that celebrities, they either accept the fact that they don't have a normal life. However, when you hear from many celebrities, a lot of them will say, which are away from the spotlight and not on camera, they just want to live that normal life. They want to raise their kids. They want to, go to the grocery store without being swarmed, without, people watching them. They want to post without everybody attacking what they're posting and trying to dissect every single move they make. It's very challenging for celebrities, and that adds a lot of pressure for a couple that's already in trouble. Okay, so these challenging moments, especially during times of difficulty, do not help or support them getting back together or getting the reassurance that they need that the audience and their fans want them together. All right, what else is raising the alarm, and why are the Jennifer breakup rumors running rampant? Number one, there are a lot of photos with Ben without his wedding ring. So of course, him not wearing his wedding ring and kind of, flaunting that in front of the camera, or at least it seems as if, when he's on the steering wheel, the paparazzi's up close to his ring finger, he's not wearing it. So to anybody else, to other married men and married women who go out of their house and they don't wear a wedding ring, it's not an automatic, oh my God, they're getting divorced. However, when it comes to Jennifer and Ben, the public, the fans, the tabloids say, they're headed for divorce. So him not being seen with his wedding ring may or may not be an indication that there's trouble in paradise. Not every married person wears their wedding ring. I know for me, I lose everything. So I did not wear my wedding ring, my engagement ring, or any of my rings when I was coupled for that reason. All right. The other thing that has been a topic of discussion is that we're seeing Ben spending more time with his ex, okay? There's allegations of renewed interactions with his ex-partner, Jennifer Garner, and that's stirring the pot. All right, Jennifer Lopez is not in the scene, yet you see Ben and Jennifer attending their kids' activities. Now, this could be because, again, Jennifer's schedule may not allow her to be part of her stepkids' activities. It could also be that, the speculation is that, there's trouble in paradise. So, of course, who are you going to lean on? You're going to lean on your ex-wife, the other Jennifer. At least this is what the rumors are saying. So this brings a lot of curiosity to fans thinking, all right, why is he spending so much time now with Jennifer Garner, and why are they at each other's homes without Jennifer around? All right, there's a lot of scrutiny on their personal life, and when you look at that and the pressures of things that are not going well, the cancellation of Jennifer's tour, for example, depicts this cold behavior towards service workers, and it provides sort of a glimpse of the pressures and expectations that are felt by celebrities. All of these rumors about Jennifer, the negative narrative around Jennifer and how she's a diva and how she's mean to coworkers and whatever, whether they're true or not, that certainly cannot help a relationship, and it certainly will not help Ben's view of her if that is what the public is viewing her as, okay? The intersection between personal strain professional demands, all of that is already difficult for a normal couple. And now you add the fact that everybody's chiming in and everybody's talking about your divorce or imminent divorce has got to be, at least for Ben, probably frustrating AF, okay? Because he doesn't even want it to be spoken about. He hates the limelight, and that's probably why he's wearing resting bitch face 24/7, all right? The other part is that, are they heading for separate horizons because of the living situation? We don't have any idea why Ben is not living in their mansion and why Ben's arrangements are reported that he is living separately. It's also reported that Ben is cold at family events. This intensified rumors of a rift between them, because when you break up with a partner, you're also breaking up with their family. And family plays a very important role in whether or not you get along as a couple. So the rumors are that Ben does not, enjoy going to Jennifer's events and Jennifer's family events, and that would be difficult to maintain in a long-term relationship. So what are some key takeaways that we can look at over the past couple of weeks and months as, the Bennifer breakup is really the talk of the town? This disagreement between privacy and publicity is really the biggest rift between them that we know of. Navigating a relationship, especially as a celebrity couple, is challenging enough. In fact, regular couples already argue about social media. Now, what about press? What about paparazzi? What about, talk shows? And literally at one of the opening nights, and there was a panel discussion, a reporter specifically went to Jen and said, "Hey, is it true about the rumors with your divorce?" Thank goodness Simu Liu shut that down. And she's like, "This is not the place." Another question. And also Jennifer shut that down too. But that's gotta be embarrassing for both her and for Ben that, she's there talking about Atlas, but all anybody is really concerned about is, are you guys getting a divorce? All right. The other thing that you got to look at is support versus sacrifice. How can you as a celebrity couple support each other when, part of your job is being in the limelight, and yet your partner doesn't want you to be or is resistant to it? That has got to be challenging on anybody. And yet, this is part of the reason why they are rumored to be breaking up, is that Ben's had enough. He can't stand it. And then finally, the love letters that were supposedly read and he did not know about it. These are all the reasons that are escalating and providing the evidence that there is trouble in paradise. Okay. And then finally, when we look to seek a deeper understanding of celebrity relationships, clearly we really do not know what's going on. These are all, reports that people are talking about. And obviously the awkward moments when you're seeing them in public, they're not showing up at major events together, major opening nights together. When you are capturing them, you're showing, them in an argument. The body language is aggressive or the body language is upset. You're not seeing this picture of perfection, this picture of love. There are not a lot of photographs of them as a loving couple. If anything, they're strained, they're frowning, they're intense, they're faking it, so to speak, right? There isn't this genuine, romance that you often see in a lot of Jennifer's, romance movies. In fact, it feels as if anyone's playing a role, Ben is playing the role of I'm fed up, and Jennifer is playing the role of I've got to do my best to try to not put fuel on the fire. Okay, this is what it looks like for me. To me, when I'm seeing all of the photos out there. How can how can we discover or get down to the truth? I guess we're not going to know until, we hear about it or it becomes official, but there is a lot of evidence that there is trouble in paradise. In conclusion, the saga of Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez serves more than just a tabloid tale. It really is a window into the complexities and challenges that celebrities go through, when it comes to modern love, fame, and the continuous quest for balance in your relationship. How can you maintain that balance and be in the public eye, especially if one of the celebrity pair chooses or wants to be more private? All right, guys. Apparently, J-Lo has officially filed for divorce.
Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck's second shot at love coming to an end.
So now it's real. There is no speculation. And I'm going to go through this article that was just shared with me about her divorce. Number one, I'm feeling like so badly for her, particularly when she just filmed an entire, life series or documentary, a special about her life and her love life, describing how she felt loved by Ben.
It's such a meta story, right?
Ben is there. And then shortly after all of this, there's all of these rumors that they might be splitting up. Okay, so Page Six confirmed that she literally filed for those divorce papers on Tuesday. Okay, she filed for divorce from Ben Affleck at 2 years after marriage. And we'll go through this timeline. Okay, so the first line on this article is Bennifer 2.0 is over.
It's official. Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck have called it quits on their second time at love.
She filed on Tuesday after 2 years of marriage. That's confirmed, according to TMZ, who was the first to report the news. Lopez filed for divorce, meaning by herself and without an attorney. Tuesday marks the 2-year anniversary of the pair's lavish Georgia wedding ceremony, which they held after eloping in Vegas in July 2022. What's interesting is that she cited the date of separation. She filed for divorce, indicating the date of separation was April 26th, 2024.
We were about to get married. It didn't work out.
Okay, that's April 26, 2024, meaning everything that we've reported on and the speculation about, the breaking down of their marriage was accurate. Okay, there's a reason likely why Ben was not wearing his ring. There's a reason why the house went up for sale. The other situation, which might get messy, is she didn't say in her filing whether they had a prenup agreement.
A source close to Jennifer also tells NBC News the couple did not have a prenup.
So sources are basically saying that they must not have one. The other thing that's cited is that she went on to waive spousal support and asked that the judge deny Affleck for support as well. Now, this is super interesting because we've always known that the income disparage, like the income was quite drastically different. Okay, J-Lo was worth more than Ben, given that she's always talking about how much they were in love. And I'm assuming this rekindling, this second time around, she meant it to be forever. I don't think she thought 2 years later they would be back in this situation, 2 years after the marriage, like literally on the date of their anniversary. So Lopez right now is 55, Ben Affleck's 52. The first breakup rumor mill started back in May of 2024, earlier this year, and she cited the separation as of April 26. They started going to couples therapy. Now, neither Lopez and Affleck addressed this speculation publicly. They never really talked about the divorce or that there were issues. It was all just speculation. However, there were signs, right? Ben being spotted without his wedding ring, TMZ reporting that Ben Affleck no longer lived in the Beverly Hills mega mansion. My God, you got to see the pictures of this thing. Like, even if they lived together, imagine like they could likely never run into each other because of how big it is. And according to Page Six, the Oscar winner had been staying at a house in Brentwood neighborhood of LA for about a week, despite it being only 30 minutes from their Beverly Hills home. So they haven't been living together since April, at least sighted together. He was photographed coming and going from the property without Jennifer. And attentive fans later realized that the pair hadn't been photographed together in over a month and a half. Okay. And whenever we did see pictures of them, it was the standard Ben's look. I'm frustrated. I don't want to be here. Get the F out of my face. And, they were caught in not loving poses. It was like frowns. It was a furrowed brow. It was, distance. It looked like they were always in the middle of something. You see the famous video where he's like looks like he's slamming the door behind Jennifer. But sometimes people were thinking, well, maybe that's just the paparazzi. We know that he hated that stuff. Ben was house hunting in LA. I remember when we were talking about that. And she was also photographed touring homes in LA. And she was around her longtime producing partner, Elaine Goldsmith Thomas, in mid-May. So she's not house hunting with her then husband, right? And they're still married. So They're now, they filed for separation or filed for divorce. Source also told them at the time that Ben would divorce on the grounds of temporary insanity if he could, but because he finally came to his senses following what he felt like a fever dream. Okay. So who knows if the rekindling, if they have this kind of very, not toxic, but very passionate, like, oh my God, it's a good idea in the moment. And they remember the euphoric times, the good times. And then when they're together and she's famous and she's getting all of this attention and he realizes, yeah, I'm a celebrity, but I'm not like that kind of a celebrity. And who knows, Jennifer made it on our rudest celebrity list. Who knows what it's like actually living with her? Who knows what it's like? They're already troubled. Everybody knows that Ben doesn't like being in the spotlight, and she's constantly in the limelight, whether she likes it or not. And then she actually put herself in the limelight by telling a story and doing a video about all the marriages and all the men in her life, and then doing a documentary, and she's getting so much negative press, and there's a lot of haters and people who are not fans of J-Lo. So all of this cannot be good for an already volatile marriage, and it cannot be good for a husband who might be having, certain views about her. And then now the public is, also sharing some of these views. Now, they put the marital home up for sale. It was on the market for $68 million July of this year. Affleck reportedly moved all of his things out while she was away. Okay, while traveling, he took his things out. The divorce rumors ramped up when the couple listed their home. Okay, that's a big sign. And they're also house hunting separate. Now, the home has 12 bedrooms, 24 bathrooms, a full basketball court for $68 million. It's nearly $8 million more than what they paid for it in 2023. So who knows if it actually has a valuation increase of $8 million. And apparently, she had paid all the cash for the pricey property, which was originally listed for $135 million in 2018. So supposedly she bought the house in cash. And ahead of the 4th of July weekend, she jetted off to the Hamptons to enjoy time with family, including Affleck's daughter, Violet. All right, so hey, she's still a relationship there, so I can understand why people were thinking maybe there's not a divorce going on. The Jennifer and Affleck's daughter were spotted walking with their arms wrapped around each other in the Southampton, New York on July 14th, and were seen in the East Hampton Antiques and Design Show outside the historic Mulford Farm Museum the day prior. Now, just because you're hanging out with your stepdaughter doesn't mean that your marriage is great. I mean, of course, there's going to be a relationship together. It doesn't mean that you have to sever those relationships. And it also doesn't mean that your marriage is not in trouble. All right. Lopez and Affleck also spent their second wedding anniversary apart. They spent birthdays apart. When they are photographed, again, they're photographed with not nice faces. They don't seem to be the lovey-dovey couple. On the special day, the Love Don't Cost a Thing singer drove around with her longtime manager, Benny Medina, in the Hamptons while the Argo actor arrived at his LA office. So again, it's summertime. You're not doing summertime things together. You are not being photographed on beaches and having romantic escapades and celebrating milestones. You're doing all of this apart. He was not present for 55th birthday celebration, which, oh my God, did you see the extravagance of her birthday and all the friends and all the family, and your husband's not there? That's a real tell that there could be trouble in paradise, okay? It was a Bridgerton themed party, and it was a private lunch at Arthur and Sons in the Hamptons, to which he was not present. And he did spend Lopez's birthday purchasing a new $20 million LA mansion. So happy birthday to me, Jennifer. I'm buying myself my new house. All right. So Affleck's new bachelor pad allegedly boasts 5 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, breakfast and dining spaces, a family room, a den, a media room. I mean, what is going to be missing from a $20 million LA mansion? Meanwhile, on his big day, Lopez posted throwback photos of herself from her own birthday dinner. They got caught up in the moment. Jennifer had wanted this wedding, the gowns, the friends, all the trappings and trimmings for decades, an insider told Page 6 earlier this month. They've turned the page on all of their unfinished business of 20 plus years ago, and they've seen things through to the end. And they know for sure now that they are not built for the long haul. Took you, second time around, 2 years later, living together to realize, completely that you're not a match. Now, we're told that Lopez was furious and humiliated since Affleck was the one who initiated getting back together and that he held off on filing for divorce to spare her more embarrassment. Yikes. Okay, there's some stuff to unpack there. Lopez first met Affleck in 2001 on their set of the movie Giggly. Am I saying that right? And JLo was still married to her second husband, Chris Judd, at the time. So Judd and Lopez split in June of 2022. That's a year later. And then Bennifer was born. So there was likely some sparks there. And by November 2022, they were already engaged as quickly as things heated up. So this is a romance and a relationship that like burns quickly, like sparks quickly, but then burns quickly too. Okay. Both stars have moved on to their other relationships fairly quickly, with Lopez marrying Mark Anthony June 2004 and Affleck tying the knot with Jennifer Garner. Years later, after all the splits and everything else, they get back together. April 2021, Affleck and Lopez nearly broke the internet when they were first spotted hanging out together again in LA, and then they got engaged a year later. And now we are here, present day, not make their 2-year anniversary. In fact, they did not. If she filed that they were separated April 26th earlier this year, she did not have a prenup, or else it would have been in the papers, or at least that's the assumption. She said she does not want to pay spousal support. And, I think Ben as a man would probably not want to be the person that takes spousal support from your ex-wife. And the fact that she's furious, it takes two to tango, okay? You didn't have to rush into a second marriage. I think by now, which is really surprising to me, which kind of leads me to believe that Jennifer is like truly somebody that loves love, that believes in marriage, even though it doesn't work. Like she wants to be married. She wouldn't have agreed to that, but maybe a better situation would have been, hey, let's take things slow. We can move in together. We can behave like husband and wife, but you don't have to like tie the knot, right? I mean, gosh, you've done this X number of times. I'm not in her shoes. I actually really empathize for her. It has to be embarrassing. I feel bad. I would be, I don't know if the word's embarrassed. It's all of those things. She's not getting a lot of love right now, but finally everyone can say, oh, there it is, right? There it is. What do you guys think? Did you think it was true, all of the rumors? And the fact that she's mad because Ben actually wanted to file for divorce earlier, but wanted to save her from the embarrassment because, my goodness, there is nothing really positive that's happening right now for Jennifer Lopez. I mean, Jennifer, you have so much to be grateful for. She's still beautiful. She's still talented. She's still, has over $400 million. Who knows if that's going to be cut in half? I don't know. If there's no prenup, I don't know. What are the rules? Did they talk about, is love going to ultimately cost her a lot more than just her, embarrassment and her, her heart? I feel bad.
People didn't really take it as a serious relationship, but we really loved each other.
Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to Daily Break TV, your one-stop shop to all things celebrity and relationship information to the stars. And oh boy, do we have a story for you today. Today, we're diving deep into the real issue and reason why P. Diddy chose not to marry J.Lo.
He was larger than life, but at first I didn't like him at all.
Now, if we go back to the early 2000s, we're revisiting this whirlwind romance of P. Diddy and Jennifer Lopez, seeing that he's been in the news and all eyes are on him and J.Lo, given the circumstance and situation. These two were, at the time, the epitome of glamour and power, okay? They were the couple to watch when they got together. They were setting trends. They were both on the come up. They were turning heads. Wherever they went.
I just fell in love from right then and there. It was just like the first time I fell in love.
But behind all of the dazzling smiles and public displays of affection, there was trouble brewing. Things are not always as they seem, as you know, in social media or in the media. Now, Diddy had recently opened up about why he never made it down the aisle with J.Lo, and his reasons for that have sparked up a lot of conversation. Now, he did confess that he was deeply in love with his ex, Kim Porter.
But I was still in love with Kim, you know what I'm saying? So I couldn't marry Jennifer if I was still in love with Kim.
The mother of his children at the time. In fact, how Kim found out about J.Lo was pretty sad. She didn't even know that she wasn't in a relationship with Diddy supposedly at that time. She had found out through the tabloids. Supposedly, she was a queen about it and was just like, all right, you go do you, I'm going to do me. And it didn't really faze her. At least that's what was reported way back when. Now, this really is a classic case of emotional baggage, particularly for Diddy. All right. Supposedly, the entire time that he was dating J-Lo, he was still stalking, messaging, communicating with Kim Porter on the daily. All right. Perhaps his connection to J-Lo was more of a business deal, knowing that she was on the come up.
Puffy, when I first met him, I was making my first album, and he gave me a lot of insight into music business.
They might have had some kind of connection. And in fact, there is video and reports of J-Lo not really being intrigued by Diddy in the beginning. She was kind of like, she kind of had the ick for him initially. And who knows what changed that spark, or if it was, a chance encounter that had that change, or she also, was drawn to his, charismatic, being, and the fact that they did have a few things in common. They were both workaholics. They were both, musicians. They were both very talented, both perfectionists. So there were a lot of work synergies, but she was always concerned that he was not, the, image of a family man. She was really all about family and falling in love and being in this, loving relationship. As you can see from all of her documentaries and whatnot, J-Lo loves love. She has been in multiple marriages. And at the time, I guess she saw Diddy as a suitable partner. However, before you jump into a new relationship, I think on both sides, you've got to resolve your previous ones. And he did admit that he was not ready for marriage. And the entire time he was literally still in love with Kim Porter. Now, hold on, there's more. Remember that dramatic nightclub incident involving Diddy and J-Lo? The one that landed them both in hot water? Well, that definitely played a significant role into the demise of that relationship. This incident reminds us that trust and safety are paramount in a relationship. And if you're constantly feeling insecure, if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling, as a woman, you've got to have that safety, that protection. If it's compromised because of your partner's actions, well, that's a major red flag. You deserve to be someone who prioritizes your well-being and makes you feel secure. I don't really believe that happened. There was also a video that I saw where J-Lo was asleep in the home, supposedly upstairs, while Diddy had called for, supposedly, this is all alleged, escorts downstairs. He's doing his thing while she's sleeping upstairs, and he's having a freak off in there in the place that she's sleeping at. And I don't think she was having that. Okay, there was a big argument about it. Who knows what she was exposed to or was aware of, or maybe turned a blind eye to because of who he was at the time, or maybe, again, the embarrassment of another, failed relationship. In a candid interview, Diddy also revealed that he wasn't quite ready for the commitment of marriage. He prefers the idea of a love contract, similar to the arrangement Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell have. Now, while a love contract might work for some, it's crucial to have open and honest communication with your partner about those expectations and those long-term goals. Whether you're aiming for a traditional marriage or for a more unconventional partnership, clearly Diddy is on the unconventional side. You both have to be on the same page to avoid any misunderstandings and potential heartache down the road. I highly doubt that they were aligned with what partnership looked like in that moment, particularly when he was in the time at the height of his, freak off parties. J-Lo, of course, has moved on, since then, obviously has moved on many times over. She thought she had rekindled love with Ben Affleck and, Bennifer 2.0. Although people had some doubts, there were some people that thought, oh my God, this is it. They made it work. 20 years later, they've rekindled it. She did an entire documentary about her love life, all to just implode right in front of us. So I certainly empathize for that public embarrassment. It was just an unfolding of that relationship, which didn't, really help J-Lo, nor did it help Ben. And we know Diddy right now, like the last of his concerns is romance.